Hey, I'm Kate, and I could really use some advice. Let me start at the beginning. Don't forget to press like and subscribe to the channel. Many people have a toxic person in their life that wants to outdo them in everything. For me, it was my classmate Amber, and it all began back in elementary school. We came to school wearing the same outfit on the first day of class.
Wow, it's like we're twins. I'm Kate. Let's be friends. This dress obviously looks better on me. What? No, it doesn't.
As we got older, our rivalry intensified.
Hey, Amber, the fashion police should arrest you. Look at the purse my parents bought me.
I won that round, like I usually did, but one day I hit a rough patch. My parents and I were walking back to our car from a store when an awesome car drove into the parking lot. Amber was the one behind the wheel. Look at my birthday present. You won't be able to beat this. And she was right. I pretended not to care, even though I was actually terribly jealous. I begged my parents to buy me a car and let me get a driver's license as we drove home. That's not up for discussion. You quickly give up hobbies. Last month, you asked us for an expensive camera and then didn't even pick it up once. It makes no sense to spend money on a car only for you to get bored of it the next week. Convincing my parents wasn't easy, but I didn't despair because I was their only child and they spoiled me. As we were driving past a park, I saw a stunning guy. He was sitting under a tree and looking sadly at his laptop. He was giving off such a mysterious vibe. I wondered who he was. At home, I kept pestering Mom and Dad, and I even pretended I was gonna burst out crying. Please! And I almost managed to convince them. Why almost? Because at that moment, our doorbell rang. Mom's sister, my Aunt Greta, and her son, Dan, had come over. It turned out that they had some problems and now had nowhere to live. My parents let them stay with us, so I had to share my room with my cousin. It sucked, but that wasn't even the worst part yet. By the way, Kate, the car will have to wait. Your Aunt Greta needs that money more, and we have no more savings. My eye almost started twitching. It wasn't fair. That was how my fun life with my new roommate began. Ugh, your room is so girly. Maybe it's because I am a girl. Genius. He was terribly messy and spent the whole night playing video games. I didn't even get a wink of sleep. I need help at fifth base. Ugh. I didn't get enough sleep and I overslept because of him. But then, something great happened at school. My friend Eileen looked weirdly enthusiastic. Kate, have you heard the news yet?
About Princess Amber's new car?
No, about the new guy. His name is Paul, and he is super cute. There he is. His face seems familiar. I've seen him before, but I don't remember where. Hey, that was the guy I'd seen in the park. So that gloomy, handsome guy was gonna study with us now? Wow, I really liked Paul, so I decided I wouldn't wait for him to notice me, and I approached him myself. Hi, Paul, right? I'm Kate. Do you want me to give you a tour of the school? Hi. Hold your horses, Kate. I'll show the new kid around. I know the best places for makeout sessions and copying answers to the upcoming tests. Amber had decided to turn this into a competition too. I was sure she would have never even looked twice at Paul if I hadn't tried to talk to him. I suggested it first. No, I did. Thanks. I think I'll be fine by myself. See you later. Both Amber and I failed, but that wasn't the end of it. All day long, my arch nemesis and I kept trying to get him to notice us. However, all he cared about was his laptop. He wouldn't have noticed a herd of elephants passing him by. I decided to change tactics and be smart about it. At lunch, I sneaked a peek at his screen and saw he was playing an online game called The Hero's Way. I should find out more about this. Then I almost got lucky. Almost. After classes, Paul and I left school at the same time and realized it was raining buckets. Damn, my laptop might get wet. I have an umbrella. We could share it. But then Amber ruined everything. She deliberately drove through a puddle and splashed me from head to toe. And then she stopped and offered to give Paul a ride. Thanks, that would be cool. I hate walking in the rain. Kate, I'd give you a ride too, but I don't want my car to get dirty. Bye. I could only growl with indignation. Ugh. At home, my patience kept being tested. I couldn't get into the bathroom because Dan was in there. My aunt had also taken my camera without permission to take pictures. I don't like people touching my stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. It's just that a very beautiful rainbow appeared after the rain, and I wanted to take a photo of it.
I guess I wasn't a great host, but if any of you had a day as bad as mine, you would get it. While I was waiting for the bathroom to be free, I looked at my cousin's computer and realized he'd been playing The Hero's Way, the game that Paul was so obsessed with. It was easy to come up with a plan after that. I gave Dan some of my pocket money, and I asked him to tell me everything about the game. Cast of magicians? Crafting update? This is so complicated. Wait, I'm gonna write it down. All the gaming terminology made me feel like my head was about to burst. But the next day at school, I was ready to show off my knowledge. I sat down next to Paul in the dining room, and I casually looked at his laptop screen. Oh, it's The Hero's Way! I love that game.
Really? Wow. Which characters do you like most?
Me? The Dark Elf Archers.
Wow. I didn't think that pretty girls were interested in video games.
I may have cheated a little, but that was also the first time Paul hadn't looked like an emotionless robot. It seemed like I had finally caught his attention. Also, did he really call me pretty? Wow. And what made me particularly happy was that Amber saw us chatting sweetly. She was furious.
Kate, you're cool. Do you want to play online with me tonight?
It wasn't a date, but it was something. I happily agreed. And only realized what I had done at home. I didn't know how to play at all. What was I supposed to do now?
Why are you looking at me like that?
Do you want to earn more money? I had to resort to asking my cousin for help. Again. I gave Dan all my pocket money so he would play for me. Sat next to him, and I chatted with Paul. When I saw him at school the next day, Paul was beaming with happiness.
Kate, I had a great time yesterday. The last few months have been hard for me, but everything changed thanks to you. You're amazing.
Paul rummaged through his backpack and handed me a leaflet about an esports tournament. I hadn't even known that existed.
This is an old dream of mine. I'm assembling a team. If we win the local tournament, we'll be able to take part in the International Champions League. We're missing one player. Will you join us?
Oh, well, I thought about it. On one hand, it felt great to be invited, but on the other hand, I knew I wouldn't be able to pull it off. I was about to tell Paul that I had deceived him a little bit, but then Amber appeared in the hallway, handing out invitations to her party to everyone.
Paul, you're invited, of course.
But Kate, there's no room left for you. You don't mind, do you?
I'm sorry, Amber, but Kate and I have to get ready for an esports tournament. I won't be able to come. If Kate agrees to become a part of the team, that is.
You should have seen Amber's face! She was so pissed! Paul's words definitely got to her. It seemed like I won that round. I agreed to participate in the tournament.
Hooray! I knew you'd be interested. Keep the leaflet.
I was over the moon when Paul hugged me in front of Amber. But what was I supposed to do now? At home, I showed the leaflet to Dan. I'm finished if he finds out I lied to him.
Well, I'll help you for a modest fee.
At that moment, my parents walked into the room and saw the leaflet I was holding.
Wow, Kate, do you have a new hobby? I'm sure she'll give it up in a week. Actually, Kate's gonna reach the Champions League final. Is that true?
Well...
If you win the tournament, we'll think about withdrawing money from our account and buying you a car.
Really? Yes! You're the best! Nothing could stop me now. I was gonna get the guy of my dreams, show Amber up, and become the happy owner of a brand new car. Hooray! Things were looking up. Paul's team was practicing in the school's computer club. All the computers were separated by partitions.
I'll hide there, and once the game starts, we'll just swap places.
You're a genius, Dan. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. The next day, I came to the club for the first time, and Paul introduced me to the rest of the team. There were only guys on it. They were very skeptical about me.
A girl? Does she even know how to turn the computer on? Quit it. Kate is a great gamer. You'll see for yourself. Isn't that right?
Sure. Once everyone sat down, Dan came out of hiding and swapped places with me. The practice went without a hitch. The guys from the team were ecstatic.
Wow, Kate, you really are amazing. What did I tell you?
That went on for a while. Dan was playing his favorite game, and I was getting all the glory and hanging out with Paul. We spent a lot of time together. He walked me home and gave me sweets. Amber could only grit her teeth with envy.
Something isn't adding up. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it.
Sure, good luck with that.
Honestly though, how did you manage to get Paul and become a professional gamer?
Can you keep a secret?
Of course I can.
Okay, Dan is actually the one playing instead of me.
Your cousin?
Yeah, well, he had to be good at something. He and his mom are still living at our place and using my stuff.
But you won't be able to deceive everyone that easily at the tournament.
Dan will think of something. After all, that's what I'm paying him for. I was waiting for my cousin after classes as usual when I suddenly saw him talking to Amber. That wasn't good. Dan, come on. The practice is about to start.
Amber told me what you really think of us. You know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Deal with it yourself.
Damn it. Amber must have overheard me talking with Irene. I wanted to run after Dan and explain everything, but then Paul and the rest of the team showed up.
Kate, what are you doing here? We're waiting for you.
Paul, I need to tell you something.
Don't bother. I'll do it. Guys, she was fooling you. Her cousin was the one playing with you. She can't actually play at all.
The boys looked shocked as they stared at me. God, it was so humiliating. I couldn't even say anything in my defense because it was all true. I just turned red and ran away. Then I ran into Irene. She seemed weirdly excited again.
Kate, I remembered where I'd seen Paul. I read an article about him. He used to be a famous esports player until he got kicked off his team.
That was weird. Why hadn't he told me about it? But none of that mattered now. I had let everyone down and disappointed Paul. At home, I accidentally overheard Dan begging his aunt to move out.
Mom, I know we have nowhere to live right now, but I'd rather sleep in a shelter than see any more of Kate's arrogant looks.
I felt so ashamed of myself. Only then did I realize how selfish I'd been. Dan had been accepting my money because they had money issues. I had been treating them terribly. I'm so sorry. Aunt Greta, you can take my camera if you want. I wasn't using it anyway, and your photos looked great. I shouldn't have been so greedy. All that was left to do was figure out how to make it up to Paul. To my surprise, he came to me himself. I found out something interesting.
You ran away before I could say anything. The thing is, let me start at the beginning. I was the captain of an esports team. We dreamed of getting to the Champions League. But one day we got a new member. He wanted to take my place. First, he made it so I was no longer the captain, and then he kicked me out of the team altogether. I was so depressed that I even transferred to a new school.
That's why you were so gloomy and thoughtful.
Yeah, but I didn't give up on my dream, and I put together a new team. Meeting you brought me back to life. But I lied too. After all, I knew that you were deceiving me from the very beginning.
What?
I even saw you peeking into your notebook when you were talking about the Dark Elves, but I played along. I thought that having a girl on the team would make us stand out and help us win. I'm sorry. I should have told you the truth right away.
That surprised me. I didn't even know whether to be angry or not. What had happened to Paul wasn't fair. We were both liars. But I finally figured out what we had to do. Paul, this is my cousin Dan. He's the one who is playing in my place. Please, accept him into the team. It would be way better than trying to win using tricks. It was easy for Dan to become a part of the team. Moreover, he was actually a very talented player. I came to the tournament too, but only as a fan. By the way, there were actually a lot of gamer girls there. The guys easily won, and they could now take part in the Champions League. Hell yeah! Great job, guys!
Kate, thank you for everything. You're our lucky charm.
Soon, Aunt Greta told us that she'd sent her photos to a publishing house, and she'd gotten a job as a photographer there. Then, she and Dan moved out. One day, my parents told me that they were ready to give me a car. A few weeks before that, I would have shouted for joy. But now, I told them not to buy it. I've realized that I've never had to work hard for anything. That's why I didn't appreciate a lot of the things that I got. I really want to earn that car though, so I'm gonna start working in a coffee shop.
We're so proud of you.
What happened taught me to appreciate the things that I had. I'm still friends with the guys from the team. Boo! I'm gonna tell you a scary story. It's also a very interesting one. Hi, I'm Lillian. I was born and raised in Transylvania. It's famous for its ancient castles and dark legends about vampires. Ugh. My parents and I lived on a farm. I spent most of my time outside, and I learned a lot about plants. I even made my own makeup products and creams. Sage plus rosemary equals pimples. And that was how I lived until my parents got a divorce. I would have been gutted, but to be honest, Mom and Dad had been fighting a lot, so I wasn't all that surprised. Mom didn't let it bring her down either.
This is our chance to start a new life.
That's right, Mom. She told me that the two of us were moving to Grandma's house.
Wow! Hell yeah! Grandma lived in America, and I had always dreamed of going there.
By the way, my mom was from the US too, so she was the one who taught me English. I couldn't wait for us to move. However, I was worried I wouldn't be able to find new friends in the school. So I found a solution, and I added a guy from that town to my friends on social media. His name was Gordon, and we texted each other for days and quickly became friends. Well, maybe not just friends.
I can't wait to see you. I'm sure you're even more beautiful in life than you are in photos.
Oh, by the way, Gordon looked like some kind of Greek god. Cool, right? I was looking forward to meeting him and Grandma. However, when we boarded the plane, my mom frowned slightly and looked at me seriously.
Lillian, dear, promise me you won't be upset if the kids there say, weird things about us.
I didn't take my mom's words seriously then. I was too busy looking forward to meeting Gordon. The town of Sweet Hill, where my grandmother lived, was ready for Halloween. I loved that holiday. Wow, it's so beautiful here. Look, Mom, it says there's gonna be a contest for the best pumpkin jam at the autumn fair. Let's go there.
Absolutely.
Soon, we got to Grandma's house. It turned out that it was right next to a cemetery. Would you be scared? I wasn't. I'm so glad you're here. Grandma treated me to a pumpkin latte and gave me a tour of the house. Bunches of dried grass hung from the ceiling, and there were strange flasks and unusual books on the shelves. The windows of my new room faced, ta-da, the cemetery. What a vibe! I love it! In the morning, as I was about to meet Gordon, my grandmother came up to me and sighed gloomily, just like my mom had done on the plane. Lillian, teenagers can say all sorts of stupid things. Don't listen to them, okay? I should have listened to her, but I was too excited about my meeting with Gordon. We met in the city park. Gordon brought his friends along.
Lillian, welcome to Sweet Hill.
Gordon was so #hot. He introduced me to his friends. They all turned out to be cool guys. Well, almost all of them. A girl called Nancy clearly considered herself the local queen and looked at me like I was trash. Where did you say you were from? Transylvania. What? Does everyone there dress like you? Or are you just a beggar? Ugh. I wanted to wash out that moron's mouth with soap. Lucky for her, Gordon stood up for me.
Nancy, be nice to my friend.
They showed me around the city. It was fun. Soon, we came to a house on the outskirts of the city, and we saw a gloomy guy there. His face was hidden by a hood. He was sitting out on the lawn and drawing something. Gordon's friends started to make fun of him.
Hey, wacko. Is it true you eat worms?
You know, that's very rude.
That guy's name's Chuck. He's a little weird. He walks around the cemetery at night. We tried to avoid him.
A gust of wind blew Chuck's hood off, and I saw a scar on his face. Our eyes met for a second. He looked away in embarrassment and then went inside the house. That was weird, wasn't it? Guys, let's go egg the witch's house. I raised my eyebrows curiously, and Gordon explained that there was an urban legend about 3 witches that supposedly once lived in the city. They'd been messing with the locals. Now, another witch lived in their house. She was their descendant. Nobody really liked her. I loved scary stories, but I didn't want to harm some old lady. When we reached her house, I almost fainted. I lived there now. What? Wait! That's my grandmother's house! You should have seen their faces. Everyone recoiled from me like they'd seen a ghost. I knew there was something wrong about you. Guys, she's the witch's granddaughter. I gritted my teeth. That was so dumb. Gordon looked confused too, but then he smiled sweetly and put his hand on my shoulder.
Come on, it's just a silly horror story. Lillian is a cool girl. We shouldn't be afraid of her.
Have you forgotten about the curse? If you talk to her, you'll be in trouble. At that moment, my backpack slid off my shoulder and a notebook fell out of it. It was so unfair. See? She's a witch. She even has a spell book in a strange language. Oh, for God's sake. I couldn't listen to that nonsense any longer. These are just recipes in Romanian. I like making soap and I write everything down. Don't take us for fools. Even Gordon took a step back as if I stank of rotten fish. Ugh, now I knew what my grandma and my mom had warned me about. I couldn't sleep that night. I was still mad at those jerks and I started to read Edgar Allan Poe. Then I heard the front door slam and I looked out the window. And you know what I saw? My grandma was standing in the moonlight in front of the house with a broom in her hands. Okay, but that wasn't all. I also saw someone in the cemetery. It was Chuck. He was wandering among all the monuments. Interesting. On the first day at my new school, things didn't go well. Everyone shied away from me and whispered behind my back.
Is she really the witch's granddaughter?
Nancy saw her do magic with her own eyes. God, were they serious? My classmates moved their desks away from mine. To my surprise, Gordon also participated in that circus. I didn't know idiocy was contagious. Did you? I tried not to pay any attention to them. Let them think all they want. At recess, I saw a poster in the hallway about an upcoming Halloween party. Wow, that would cheer me up. I was daydreaming and accidentally bumped into Chuck. His hood fell off again. Our textbooks fell to the floor and got all mixed up. We hurried to pick them up.
Sorry, my bad.
Nonsense. Clumsiness is my middle name. He smiled back. You know, his scar didn't look bad at all. Chuck turned out to be nice. We lived near each other, so we went home together.
Don't you hate me? I'm used to being avoided.
Oh, that makes two of us. As we talked, I asked Chuck what he'd been doing at the cemetery at night. He sighed gloomily, but he answered.
When I was 10, my mom and I were in a car accident. She died, and I got this scar. Sometimes I come to the cemetery to talk to my mom and draw. It makes me feel like she's still with me.
Oh, Chuck, I'm sorry. That's so sad.
Thank you. You're cool. Gordon and Nancy don't deserve you.
Oh, well, thank you. By the way, I thought about my recipes, and I told Chuck that I knew a natural remedy that would make his scar less noticeable. A little bit of chamomile and mint, and whoosh! It's almost magical. All the ingredients are at my grandma's house. Let's go. Chuck suddenly frowned at me and said he would never go into the witch's house. Wait, did he believe that nonsense too?
And besides, the scar reminds me of my mom. Mind your own business, okay?
That made me angry because I was just trying to help him. Chuck turned out to be a jerk, just like the rest of them. We argued, and I came home angry. I was growing to hate that stupid city and everyone in it. But then, I noticed something strange at home. I heard the voices of my mom and my grandmother coming from the basement. What were they doing in there? I carefully peeked in and saw my mom and grandma stirring something in a huge bubbling cauldron. Can you imagine? What on earth were they doing? Was everything people were saying about my family actually true? At school, I tried to get my mind off those crazy thoughts and overheard Nancy talking about the upcoming party. I don't know which decorations to choose. It turned out she was organizing the party. I got an idea. Nancy, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I know all about Halloween. Let me help you with the party. Get away from me. You probably bring bad luck. Calm down, Lillian, and count to 10 before you put that upstart in her place. But then, Gordon surprised me.
Okay, girls, stop fighting. This joke has gone too far. I'm not gonna avoid Lillian anymore.
He looked into my eyes, and my knees got weak. I was ready to forgive him for everything, but Nancy clearly wasn't about to let that happen. It's your funeral, Gordy. Don't come complaining when you get cursed. To my surprise and horror, she was right. The more time Gordon spent with me, the more serious the consequences were for him. At lunch, he didn't notice a spider in his juice and accidentally swallowed it. Ugh.
Ew, that's disgusting.
He sat on a piece of gum in math class and ripped his shorts in gym. He was so embarrassed. It was terrible. He tried not to let it get him down, but when the seams of his pockets tore and his phone fell out of it, Gordon's patience ran out.
I tried, but the rumors are true. I broke the phone my parents gave me only a month ago. I'm sorry, Lillian, but I can't hang out with you.
He hung his head guiltily and left. Everyone at school was smirking at me. It was infuriating, but I didn't let myself cry. They wouldn't see me break down. At home, I slammed the door of my room angrily. My mom and my grandmother heard it and came to ask me if I was okay. I had been trying not to upset them, but at that moment, I couldn't help but blurt out the truth. Tell me, are we witches? They looked at each other in surprise and laughed.
Sweetie, we told you not to listen to stupid gossip.
You're probably gonna laugh too, but the truth was actually a lot simpler. It turned out that many years ago, 3 women really had lived in our house. They were healers, but some ignorant people called them witches. They had actually been helping people. Grandma had followed in their footsteps. She also treated people with folk remedies, hence the dried plants and strange books in the house. Now I knew who I got my talent from. I was just trying to decide which Halloween decorations to use when you saw me with that broom, and we were making jam for the autumn fair in the basement.
One of your classmates was probably jealous of you and caused all that trouble for Gordon.
I thought about it, and I remembered that Nancy had been with us every time something bad had happened. Ugh, she was such a jerk. I smiled vindictively. It was time to show them what real witches look like. The next day, I came to school in a witch costume. I walked past the other kids, huddling against the hallway walls in fear, proudly holding my head up.
Oh, is that your best outfit? Your hat is ugly, by the way.
You think so? I'll take it off then. I lifted my hat, and a toad jumped out from under it right at Nancy. Of course, I put it there in advance. Nancy screamed and ran away. I just cackled. Ugh! I'm gonna get warts! Chuck came up to me later.
You really showed her.
Someone had to do it.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said nasty things about your grandmother.
Never mind. At one point, even I believed all that nonsense. I'm sorry for talking about your scar.
Since we've cleared everything up, do you want to go to the party with me?
I agreed. Not because everyone at school was afraid of me, but because I actually liked Chuck. I helped him with the costume, and we went to the party. Trick or treat! Unfortunately, the party was terribly boring. No costume contests or creepy decorations. My classmates were wandering around the hall dejectedly with no idea what to do. Holy crud, Nancy screwed up. Oh, you think you would have done better? I know it. I would throw a party that would make your hair stand on end.
Then do it.
Fine, I will. Nancy dared me to throw a better party. She didn't know who she was messing with. The real Halloween starts tomorrow. Come to the scariest party ever if you dare. It will take place in the witch's house. Everyone looked at each other with interest, but surprisingly agreed. Well, it was time to get ready. At home, I told my mom and grandmother about the plan, and they agreed to help me. Showtime. When my classmates came over the next evening, I brought them to a dark room. Are you ready? We will hold a seance and summon the spirits of the witches that used to live here. Everyone pressed against each other excitedly. Someone even hiccuped in fear. We sat down on the floor, and I started to perform the seance, trying my best to keep a gloomy expression on my face. And at the most crucial moment, my mom turned on a recording of thunderclaps. She and my grandma jumped out in witches' costumes and scared my unsuspecting classmates. Who dares to bother us? Grandma was acting so convincingly that everyone scattered. Nancy was screaming louder than everyone. It was so worth it. I turned on the light, and everyone saw that the room was ready for the party. Guys, it was a prank. We prepared a lot of contests and snacks for the party. I didn't expect my classmates to like it so much. Nancy gritted her teeth in outrage and ran away. You're nuts, and everyone in your family is too. Everyone else had a great time.
Wow, a cake shaped like a skeleton? Your grandmother isn't a witch, she's a miracle worker.
I know. The autumn fair began the next day. almost all the citizens presented their pumpkin jams. Which one should I try? This one or that one? I decided I would just try both of them. My mom and grandma were also taking part in the contest. I was 100% sure that our jam would win.
Hi, Lillian. I'd like to apologize.
What a twist. What had gotten into Nancy?
I was terrible to you. I love attention, but all everyone cared about since you came here was you.
Cute. If I'd been standing behind her at that moment, I probably would have seen her cross her fingers. That liar. But I didn't see it. So, of course, I forgive you. BFFs?
Of course.
But our friendship barely lasted a minute because right after that, I saw Nancy put something into her jam. Which one of us was actually an evil witch, huh? Just you wait. Listen up, everyone. Nancy and I made up and became the best of friends. Right, Nancy?
Yeah, of course, it's true.
So Nancy's gonna be the first to taste our jam in honor of that.
What?
Try it, Nance. For our friendship. Come on, everyone is watching. You should have seen the face that snake made when she tasted her own poison.
It's delicious. Thank you. Let me through.
As everyone laughed, she ran away looking green. Thank Dracula, my mom and grandma had prepared another vat of jam. They threw away the one that Nancy had ruined, and they won the championship.
You really showed Nancy her place. Your jam is the best one here. Do you want to go to the movies tonight? Come to the club with me instead.
Whoa, hold your horses, guys. I was faced with a choice. I liked both Chuck and Gordon.
Brr, I'm freezing. I'd give anything for a cup of hot cocoa right now. I shook my head. No, I had to stop being so selfish. My friend could be in danger. I had to get a grip and help him. You might be wondering how I ended up in this situation. Well, let me start at the very beginning. Hi, I'm Sally, and I'm used to doing whatever I want. My parents were rarely at home and did not control me. Mom and Dad were polar explorers and often went on expeditions that lasted months. Most of the time, I lived with my grandmother, who treated me like a princess. I was the only child in the family, so I got used to always being the center of attention. I was popular at school as well, especially amongst the boys. They confessed to me all the time, and I was proud of my conquests. They were all so sweet that I just couldn't choose one of them, so I worked my way through them one by one. But one day, everything changed. That day, a girl who was jealous of me blabbed to the boys that I was dating them all, and they, got mad at me. Oh, it was a nightmare. Before they could all pounce on me, I snuck away home. It turned out my grandmother was sick, and my parents had decided to send her to a resort until her health improved. And then, Mom surprised me. Sally, your father and I have been invited to an expedition to Antarctica. It's going to last a year. Your grandmother won't be able to look after you, so we want to bring you with us. I didn't want to be stuck in Antarctica for an entire year. Was she kidding me? At first, I was pissed. What would I even do there? But my parents said we'd be living at a research station with a lot of other people. There was apparently even going to be a small school for the children of the other employees there. That got me thinking. Actually, I missed Mom and Dad, and I wanted to spend more time with them. Besides, my classmates were mad at me since I tricked them, so staying away from school until everyone had calmed down seemed like a great idea. So, I agreed to go to Antarctica with my parents. That evening, I packed my things, looking forward to a great adventure. I didn't forget to pack my makeup and my fashionable clothes. After all, I wanted to post selfies every day. I hoped it would be beautiful at the station. My friends would turn green with envy. While we were flying there by helicopter, Dad told me a bunch of boring facts. The McMurdo Antarctic Station is the largest research center in Antarctica. I was dying of boredom, and I soon dozed off. When I woke up, we had already arrived. I got out of the helicopter with bated breath and was shocked by the view, and not in a good way. The settlement turned out to be tiny, and I'd never seen so much snow in my life. Mom, are you sure we can't go on an expedition to Hawaii? Don't be silly. Grab your suitcase and go. Am I supposed to carry it myself? Isn't there a porter here? Holy crud. I was only in for more disappointments. My new room was tiny. Damn it, my dressing room back home was bigger than this. It also turned out there was no internet there at all. I was stuck living a nightmare. I told my parents that I hated it there. Isn't there a suite with an ocean view here? My parents said that we weren't at a spa resort and they didn't have time to listen to my complaints because they had to get to work right away. We asked our colleague's son to show you around. Henry will help you settle in and introduce you to the rest of the kids from your new school. Ooh, what a turn. It turned out that I was gonna be the only girl in school because all the other polar explorers that lived there had sons. I remembered watching a video on Private Diary's channel about a guy that went to a girls' school. Holy heck, I had never thought I would find myself in a similar situation. However, I liked that news. After all, I loved being the center of attention, and I knew how to win over anyone. Maybe my new home wasn't so bad after all. I did my makeup, fixed my hair, and chose stylish clothes while I was waiting for Henry. Soon, he came to get me, and wow, he turned out to be quite handsome. However, for some reason, he didn't seem impressed. Are you Sally? If you don't want to turn into a snowman, you should put on something warmer. I told him I would decide what to wear for myself. Henry shrugged. However, as soon as we went outside, my teeth started chattering. The wind almost blew me away, and my hairdo and makeup were instantly ruined. I had to go back and change my clothes. Henry rolled his eyes irritably. I warned you. I have better things to do than babysit you. From now on, I'll be in charge, okay? You're supposed to be showing me around, so focus on that instead of bossing me around. I looked like a sack of turnips in those ugly clothes, and I could barely move. Henry kept grumbling and urging me to go faster. Ugh, was he my guide or my warden? How was I supposed to walk fast when I was knee-deep in snow? You see that building? That's a greenhouse. They grow vegetables for the entire station there. Our class works there several times a week. I'll pass. I'm not a farmer, and I'm not gonna ruin my nails gardening. Show me how you have fun around here. He grinned and said there were no cafes, shops, or cinemas around. It was like I was in the Middle Ages. Look at how beautiful it is, though. You could enjoy the nature and watch the penguins. Although, for some reason, there have been fewer of them around lately. I stomped my foot and said I couldn't care less about the beautiful nature. I wanted Wi-Fi and entertainment. Well, you're in the wrong place for that, princess. You need to get stronger, or living here isn't gonna be easy for you. Henry's tone made my blood boil. I couldn't stand guys like him. We kept snapping at each other, and I eventually returned to my room. On the first day of school, I was prepared. I came there in warm clothes, but then quickly changed into something more stylish in the toilet and did my makeup. Then, I walked into the classroom looking like a superstar. The boys' jaws dropped when they saw me. They hurried to introduce themselves to the only girl at school. However, Henry grimaced when he saw me. Ugh, not you again. Eat snow, shithead. My classmates made goo-goo eyes at me, and we're not listening to the teacher. When I asked if anyone could lend me a pencil, they almost started fighting like wildcats. Take all of my pencils, Sally. Back off, I hit on her first. They started fighting for my attention, and by the end of the day, they were no longer talking to each other. I was really amused by it all. Henry, however, was annoyed as hell. He kept face-palming and grumbling. We split into 2 groups to play basketball in gym class. Henry was on the opposing team. I didn't know how to play, but I had a secret weapon, my charm. While the boys were playing, I came up to one of our opponents and kissed him. He turned red as a tomato and missed. Thanks to that trick, my team won. Henry was fuming. Sally did that to distract you, dude. How could you fall for her tricks? Irritating Henry became my newest hobby. He was always so tense. The next day, we were supposed to work in the greenhouse. I wasn't going to get my hands dirty, so I asked my classmates to cover for me while I sipped hot chocolate. They were all too happy to please me, but Henry got mad. Guys, what's wrong with you? You're acting like morons. Quit listening to this spoiled brat. She's using you. To my surprise, Henry's fiery speech made quite an impression.
The boys looked at each other thoughtfully and said that Henry was right. What? I was taken aback. My classmates agreed to stop fighting and paying me any attention. Oh, so Henry got his way after all, that bastard.
That's it, princess. You'll have to work if you want anyone here to respect you.
Oh, we would see about that. From that moment on, I started to flirt with everyone harder than ever. But my classmates stopped noticing me. It was like they'd all gone blind at once. Boys, I didn't do my physics homework. Let me copy yours. Pretty please?
Sorry, Sally. You're on your own. We're not your servants.
Those were hard times. The next time we went to the greenhouse, I had to work like everyone else. I broke 2 nails. It's a real tragedy, right, girls? I was having a terrible time, but the guys were having fun. They were playing in the snow and riding snowmobiles. It was all Henry's fault. I was furious with him. I was sick and tired of Antarctica and the snow, so I went to my parents. I'm bored and lonely here. I want to go home.
I'm sorry, sweetie, but that's not possible. The helicopter will only come back in 6 months. You'll just have to get stronger and endure it.
I threw a fit, but my parents just said they had no time for that. After all, they were preparing to go on a field expedition for a few days.
The number of penguins here has been plummeting, and we need to figure out what's going on. Henry will look after you while we're gone.
That was the last thing I wanted. I couldn't believe my parents were just leaving me like that. Everyone had abandoned me. For the first time in my life, I felt like I didn't matter. The next day, all the adults left to look for the penguins. The kids seized the power at the station. The boys were playing in the snow when I realized that they were building a snowman that looked like me and giggling stupidly.
Oh, look, I'm Sally and I'm a drama queen. All I do is whine and bat my eyelashes.
I'm so sick of you, I'm just about ready to walk home on foot. Ugh, the nerve of him! It was time to stand up for myself and teach that Ice King a lesson. I came up with a brilliant revenge plan. Since the adults left Henry in charge, I decided to hide in the greenhouse. He would have no choice but to run around and panic. I slipped away into my room, took my comics and sweets, and then went to the greenhouse. I spent the evening hiding there and imagining Henry's terrified face. He must have already realized I was missing and was probably looking around the station, terrified he'd be in trouble for losing me. To my surprise, a few hours went by, but no one came for me. Was Henry even looking for me? I sat there a bit longer, but soon got really bored. I decided to go back and accuse Henry of being irresponsible. What if I really had been in trouble? I saw my classmates by the school. They looked really worried, but Henry wasn't among them. It turns out he had immediately realized I wasn't there and decided I must have gone back home on foot. He was out looking for me. Did Henry really think I was that dumb? But the worst thing was that a snowstorm was approaching and it was getting dark. We couldn't call Henry because there was no signal. Damn, he could be in real danger because of me. I told the boys that we had to find him. What if something had happened to him? But they hesitated.
We should wait for the adults to come back and tell them what happened.
Oh no, I didn't want my parents to find out that a person was missing because of my stupid prank. Everyone around me already thought I was a spoiled princess. So I decided that I had to fix everything myself. Since the boys were too scared to act, I found out which way Henry had gone and headed in that direction. Moving through the snow was hard. The wind was blowing me off my feet, and it was getting darker by the minute. It was bitterly cold, and all I could think about was hot cocoa. But I didn't give up. Henry? Hey, where are you? Soon, the snowstorm hit, and I could no longer make out the road ahead of me. All of a sudden, I realized something terrible. I got lost. Congrats, Sally, you're done for. My teeth were chattering as I tried to figure out which way to go. And then someone touched my shoulder. I turned around, scared out of my mind, and saw Henry.
You idiot! I finally found you.
What? I found you! I told him that I had been in the greenhouse the entire time. And then I apologized for acting so childish. I felt so ashamed of myself. Henry smiled warmly.
Your courage borders on stupidity. But I'm glad you were so worried about me. I'm sorry that I was rude too. Let's warm up and go back to the station.
Henry had brought a backpack with all sorts of useful things with him. We found shelter from the wind, and he built a fire. The blizzard subsided, and the sky was clear again. You know, I felt like I was in a fairy tale.
Wow.
I had never seen so many stars before. We sat there and talked. It was so romantic. My heart sang with delight. And then the sky suddenly started to shimmer with different colors. Henry said it was called the Southern Lights. It's magical!
I like the way the lights are reflected in your eyes. You're very beautiful, Sally.
I shyly looked at Henry and he reached out to me. We were about to kiss, but at that moment, we heard a loud noise and saw a helicopter land not far from us. That's weird. My parents said it would only come back here in 6 months. We put out our fire and watched. I felt like the heroine of a spy thriller. Some people got out of the helicopter. They looked fishy and started to put the penguins into cages and load them on board. Those bastards! They were poachers!
So that's why the penguins kept disappearing.
They're not getting away with this. I was about to go in there, guns blazing. But Henry stopped me. He convinced me we had to act smart and needed help. We filmed everything on our phones and went back to the station. Our parents and the other adults were already there.
Sally, do you know how worried I was? Where have you been?
I'm sorry. I acted like a spoiled little idiot and I almost got into serious trouble. Then we told them that we had seen poachers and showed them the pictures. My parents immediately radioed the mainland, and a helicopter with police officers was sent to our station.
Well done, guys. Thanks to you, those scumbags will be arrested and the penguins will be set free. Still, don't ever go so far away from the station alone again.
Soon, the police arrived and quickly solved the case. They even thanked us. Wow, I was so proud of myself. Then, my parents came up to me and said I could go back home with the cops in a helicopter.
We know that being here is hard for you. We won't stop you if you want to go back to your normal life.
Henry was staring at me with sad eyes. I looked around. It was a tough but stunning place, and I had already fallen in love with it. Thank you, but I want to stay. Antarctica has a special place in my heart now. Besides, I turned to Henry and took his hands into mine. A certain Ice King has won over my heart. His eyes were practically glowing, and I realized that he felt the same way about me. That adventure changed my life. I've grown stronger, and now I want to follow in my parents' footsteps.
I walked into the elevator first. 3 boys followed me in. I glanced at them and pressed the button. The doors closed. All of a sudden, the elevator shook and stopped moving. The lights flickered. Dang it. Seems we're stuck. Hi, my name is Chloe. I was born under a lucky star. No matter what I did, I was good at it. The stand with my countless trophies was proof of that. Thanks to my excellent academic performance, I got accepted into a good private school. My parents were proud of me and did everything to encourage me. You are our little Miss Perfect, Chloe. And that's my brother Zach. I adored him. He was a year older than me and went to a regular school. We used to compete and fight over everything when we were kids. Those who have siblings get it. But then we found something that brought us together. Video games! We would play them for days. Thanks to that, I got into esports and dreamed of becoming a part of our city team. It would be really cool if you subscribed to the channel and told me about your favorite video games in the comments down below now. As you can see, I had an amazing family. It meant the world to me. But lately, Zach had been acting weird. He grew quiet and sullen. He didn't smile, refused to play games with me, and seemed withdrawn. Our parents gave me tickets to a motorcycle race for my good academic performance. I wanted my brother to come with me, but he refused. I'm not in the mood, Chloe. Maybe he had problems at school? Or had some girl broken his heart? I wondered. Later, I met up with my friend Tina. We were looking at comics in a store when I got a call and heard amazing news.
Chloe, congratulations! You're a part of the city team now. You're gonna take part in the National Esports Championship.
I wanted to scream for joy and told Tina the good news, but her reaction surprised me. Right, sure, that's awesome. Let's eat, I'm hungry. I couldn't help but throw a suspicious glance at Tina. Was it my imagination, or did I hear a note of envy in her voice? Since my friend couldn't find it in her to be happy for me, I came home and told my family about my achievement. Mom and Dad pulled me into a bear hug. However, Zach mumbled something unintelligible and locked himself in his room. I decided to find out what was going on with him, so I waited a bit and then walked into my brother's room. He was sitting at at a desk and writing something. As soon as Zach saw me, he nervously closed the notebook. I saw a name written on it, John Parker. So it didn't belong to Zach? Are you doing homework for a classmate of yours? Chloe, it's none of your business. If you're being bullied by someone at school, tell me, I'll help. I said it's none of your business. With those words, he chased me out of his room. The next day, I went to the motorcycle race with Tina. I couldn't stop worrying over my brother, though, and told Tina about it. It seems she couldn't care less because she kept looking around. You go to the same school as him. Do you know what's bothering him? Tina, are you even listening to me? I'm just looking for a hot dog vendor. Stop thinking with your stomach. I'm pouring my heart out here. Oh, relax, I heard you. Zach is a year older than me, so I hardly ever see him, but I'll ask around. When I came home that evening, my parents were panicking, pacing, and clutching their heads. What's wrong? It's your brother. He ran away from home. What the heck? I felt like my stomach had dropped out of my butt. Zach had turned off his phone, packed bare essentials, and ran away without even leaving a note. None of us knew what drove him to such desperation. I promised myself I would get to the bottom of it. The next day, I met up with Tina after school. She said she had managed to find something out. Your brother apparently doesn't get along with 3 of his classmates. Kevin, Paul, what was his name again? Right, John Parker. Hold on. Zach had been doing John Parker's homework for him when I last saw him. That was probably why my brother ran away from home. Tina, I need to talk to those guys and find out what they did to Zach. Pfft, Chloe, are you nuts? They're not gonna admit anything. You need to be smart about this. What do you have in mind? My dad works as a security guard in an office building that's still under construction. What if we... She leaned closer and whispered her plan into my ear. It was pretty freaking awesome. That could work. I thought I saw someone standing around the corner and eavesdropping on us, but when I came closer, there was no one there. My mind was probably playing tricks. We sent Paul, Kevin, and John invitations to a party that was going to take place on the roof of that office building. It says there's going to be an outdoor pool and free food at the party. I'm going. Me too. I won't miss it for the world. Hell yeah! They bought it! On the day of the party, Tina and I went there. It was time to have some fun. Oh look, there's a pizzeria here. Let's grab something to eat. Tina, can you think of nothing but food? It's not my fault I have a good appetite. Business before pleasure. That includes food. Okay, I'm coming. Chill. We were already by the door when I felt someone watching us. I looked around but didn't see anyone. I had to pull myself together if I wanted to pull it off. We walked into the building. Then my friend hid and I headed toward the elevator. The boys were already standing in front of it. It was all a part of our plan. Hi, gorgeous. Are you going to the party too? Yeah, don't call me that. I'm Chloe. Whatever you say. I'm John, and this is Paul and Kevin. Let's let loose. The elevator doors opened and I walked in first. The boys followed me in. I glanced at them and pressed the button. The doors closed. All of a sudden, the elevator shook and stopped moving. The lights flickered. Dang it! Seems we're stuck. I pretended to be scared, all the while laughing on the inside. Did they think I was stuck in there with them? Nope, they were stuck in there with me. Let me tell you about our plan. You've probably guessed there was no party already. It was all a ruse to lure Zach's classmates there. Tina had stolen her father's keys, made her way to the control room, and stopped the elevator. None of the boys would be leaving until they told me what they had done to my brother. The game was on. Paul took out his phone and realized there was no signal. John pressed the button to contact the maintenance team. Hey, can anyone hear me? We're stuck here. Tina pretended to be the operator. I've got bad news for you kids.
The elevator broke down. You'll have to wait until our crew arrives.
How long are we gonna be stuck here? Maybe an hour, or maybe all night. I'll let you know as soon as there's news. Dang it! We're gonna be bored to death. They really didn't want to miss the party. I took a bottle of soda out of my purse and casually suggested a way we could pass the time. Wanna play truth or dare? There's nothing else to do here anyway. The boys exchanged sly glances and happily agreed. If it's with you, I'd even play chess, gorgeous. It was time to find out what they were hiding. I spun the bottle and it pointed at Kevin. The guy chose truth. Okay, tell me, have you set anyone up lately? Kevin frowned and thought about it. Then he said he'd never done anything wrong in his life. I'm a good guy. What a cunning liar. Well, it was just the beginning. I would find out the truth no matter what it took. It was Kevin's turn after that. He spun the bottle and it pointed at me. I choose action. It seems our shy Johnny likes you. Why don't you kiss him? Heck, I should have chosen truth. John blushed. I squeezed my eyes shut and gave him a quick peck on the cheek. You looked like you were kissing a rotten fish. Why don't you try again? It's my turn now. The bottle pointed at John. I asked him to tell me about the worst thing he'd ever done. Okay, I do have something to confess. He sighed guiltily, and I felt so tense I wanted to shake him and tell him to hurry up. John was about to tell me what he had done to my brother. I feel terrible about it. The truth is, I stole a lollipop from a store when I was 7. The boys burst out laughing, and I wanted to rip my hair out. What lollipop? He made Zach do his homework for him, and now he wouldn't even admit it. What an insufferable liar. It made my blood boil, but it wasn't time to go ballistic yet. The bottle pointed at me again. John asked me to tell them a secret. Unlike them, I played fair, so I told them what really bothered me. I think my friend is a little jealous of me. It makes me sad because I treasure our friendship and I don't want to lose her. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. You'll be fine. John smiled warmly and winked at me. I felt my cheeks turn red and romantic music started playing in my head. However, I immediately banished stupid thoughts. That guy was a scumbag and I couldn't forget about that. I spun the bottle again. It pointed at Paul and I asked him if he had hurt anyone recently. Why are your questions so weird? No, I haven't hurt anyone. That was the last straw for me. I realized they would never tell me the truth, so I said I was Zach's sister and our meeting wasn't a coincidence. He ran away from home because of you. What did you do to him? They looked at each other confused, then glared at me angrily. So you lured us here to interrogate us? That's right, gorgeous. And my friend won't open the door until I find out the truth. You want the truth? I'll tell you the truth. Your brother is the biggest jerk I know. He set all of his classmates up and was a real pain in the butt until the three of us put him in his place. You're all lying. Zach is a good guy. Besides, I know you made him do your homework. You've got it all wrong. Zach stole my homework and tore it up. When I caught him red-handed, he freaked out and promised he would fix it. I didn't believe a word John was saying. The three of them were getting on my nerves. I pressed the button to contact my friend. I've had enough. They pissed me off. Open the doors. To my surprise, a creepy voice answered me instead of Tina.
The rules of the game have changed, Chloe. I won't open the doors until you confess to
all the terrible things you did. Who is this? Your conscience. I shrank back against the wall and the guys glared at me. We're all tired of being here. Tell them about whatever it is you're hiding so we can go home. I had nothing to confess to, though. I hadn't hurt anyone and had no idea who could be trying to get back at me or for what. I tried to explain that to the boys, all the while wondering if Tina decided to prank me out of envy. I pressed the button again and demanded they open the doors. Tina, if it's you, we're not friends anymore after this. Let us out!
Okay, quit yelling.
Now, it seems we have a problem. I pressed something and the elevator got stuck for real. What? Holy heck, why? There was no signal and no help was coming. John took the situation into his own hands. He opened the escape hatch above us and climbed out. I don't know why, but my heart sank. John, be careful! Don't tell me you fell for me. Ha! Dream on! Soon he got out into the hallway and manually opened the doors. Hooray! Finally, freedom! All that was left to do was give my friend a piece of my mind. I was running toward the control room when I suddenly saw Tina walk into the building with a pizza box in her hands. Oh, I got hungry and went to buy some food. How are you here? I felt a weight lift off my chest when I realized my friend had nothing to do with anything that happened. Tina wasn't a traitor. She was just a weirdo with a very good appetite. Who had I been speaking to, though? We all ran to the control room together. Someone slipped out of it and tried to run away, but the boys managed to catch up to that bastard. My eyes bugged out when I realized who it was. Zach, what the hell are you doing? Congratulations, you caught me. Bravo, heroes. Explain yourself. What's going on? Zach had nowhere to run. He told me he really had turned the lives of his classmates into a living hell. But then John, Paul, and Kevin teamed up and stopped him. Zach had been holding a grudge ever since. I hate them, but not as much as I hate you, Chloe. But why? I thought we were friends. Take a wild freaking guess, Miss Perfect. You go to a private school and you're always bragging and showing off. I'm sick of mom and dad telling me to be more like you. I've always lived in your shadow. Do you know what the last straw was? He said he wanted to be a part of our city esports team too, but I beat him again. Zach couldn't stand it any longer. He ran away from home and tried to find a way to ruin my life. I overheard you and your friend discussing a revenge plan and decided that was my chance. When Tina left to get a pizza, I snuck into the control room. I wanted to make you think about all the ways you hurt me. Are you serious right now? Everything I did today was for you! Yeah, you're the best. No one's as noble as you. I'm I'm so sick of this. You know what? There were a lot of things I wanted to say to my brother. For example, that he hurt me, but instead I looked at him with disappointment and asked the boys to let him go. Zach snorted and left. Meanwhile, I apologized to John and the others for accusing them of something they hadn't done. I can't believe my brother hated me all these years. You're tough, Chloe. Don't let his words get to you. Well, bye. I said goodbye to everyone and went home. On the way there, I thought about everything that happened and realized that Zach probably had every right to be mad at me. I always made our parents proud, so they didn't pay him much attention. Mom and Dad were over the moon when they saw Zach. I didn't get the chance to talk to him again that night. The next day, Tina and I agreed to meet up again. To my surprise, I ran into John at an extreme park. He was skateboarding. John came over and asked if I had made up with my brother. You know, I'll probably give him my spot on the team. I hope we'll make up after that. No! Don't you dare do that! Zach is a complete idiot if he doesn't realize how lucky he is to have a sister like you. Don't sacrifice your dream for someone so selfish. Was John right? If there was one thing I learned, it was that some people get mad at others because of their own failures. I didn't have to feel guilty just because I was better than Zach in some ways. The fight with my brother really upset me, but I had to move on. I thanked John for his advice and then Tina ran up to us. Let's go get something to eat. I've worked up an appetite while dealing with all this drama. Never change, Tina. Come on, my stomach is growling too. Can I come along? I nodded and the three of us went to a cafe. Who knows? Maybe this is the beginning of something wonderful.
Hi everyone, I'm Brenda. I've always been very feminine and romantic. I liked all sorts of girly things. Cute dresses, melodramas, cosmetics. I also liked baking apple pies and listening to love songs. If only I could keep enjoying my life. Unfortunately, my dad had always wanted a son and treated me like a guy because of that. You can't even imagine what I had to go through. Where do I begin? Well, for one thing, he redecorated my room without warning me. My pale pink bedroom turned into just some sort of gym. Dad, where are all my teddy bears? Oh, there wasn't enough space for the punching bag here, so I threw them out. Now you can work on your punches. For the love of God, I am a girl. I don't want to be punching anything. Arguing with my dad was useless. It was like he was trying to turn me into a different person and didn't care about my feelings at all. When I asked him to buy me a beautiful dress for the school prom, he got me a tuxedo instead. Whenever I was watching melodramas, he would come up to me and turn on an action movie instead. Ugh, what's with the tearjerker? Now we're talking. When I wanted to go to a spa, Dad took me fishing instead. Can you believe it? He was so selfish. The one time he fulfilled my wish was when he gave me a car. And even then, it wasn't a cute pink convertible like I wanted, but a huge Jeep. It looked intimidating and not at all something a gentle girl like me should drive. I didn't complain and thanked Dad anyway. Driving a Jeep was still better than sitting in a cramped school bus, but then there was one incident that became the last straw for me. I'd long dreamed of doing gymnastics. I needed Dad to sign a permit to join a club, but when I asked him for it, his reaction made me want to rip my hair out. Brenda, forget about it. Gymnastics is for weak girls. I've already enrolled you in a soccer club. But Dad, don't bother arguing with me. I paid a lot of money for that. So it's not up for discussion. We're going to go to matches together like father and son. Oh, I mean like father and daughter. Ugh, can you believe it? Dad still didn't give a damn about my opinion. It made my blood boil. Still, I was afraid of open confrontation. He threatened to take my car and pocket money away every chance he got, and I was saving up for a trip to Rome. But I wasn't going to take such treatment lying down either. So I said I would join the soccer club, but actually join the gymnastics club. For a while, I successfully deceived Dad, but soon he found out the truth and went ballistic. Brenda, since you dared to disobey me, I'm sending you to a boys' sports camp. They'll make a real man out of you and teach you to obey orders there. A boys' camp? Are you kidding me? I'm as serious as a heart attack. You need to get all this girly nonsense out of your head. Of course, at first I was shocked, but then I calmed down. At least he hadn't taken away my car and pocket money. Okay, I'll stay in that stupid camp for a couple of weeks and then go to Rome and forget all about this freaking nightmare. I tried to convince myself the situation would be worse. A couple of days later, Dad drove me to the camp. Before leaving, he said something that ruined my mood again. Don't even think about slacking off, Brenda. While you are here, the only thing you should be saying is yes, sir. Got it? Okay, I got it. What would you say? Yes, sir. Remember, I'll be watching you. You won't fool your old man this time. I said I got it again, but on the inside I was smiling. He'll be watching? Yeah, like I'd believe that. I was sure I wouldn't have any trouble at the camp. If push came to shove, I could always win over the boys there and make them help me. I stepped into camp beaming. Soon enough, I found out there was was another girl in the camp besides me. Her name was Nancy, and we were going to be roommates. Things were looking up. I walked into our room and smiled at her amiably. Hi, I'm Brenda. Let's be friends. We could wear face masks and gossip about guys in the evenings. Listen carefully, you Disney princess. I'm not your friend, and I'm not going to coddle you. Stay away from me if you know what's good for you. Oh, that wasn't the answer I was hoping for. Nancy turned out to be arrogant and rude. For some reason, she took an instant dislike to me. Okay, don't get so worked up. What did you just say? I'm going to take a look around the camp. I ran out of our room like a bat out of hell and decided to introduce myself to the boys. There was one thing I was good at, it was flirting. I had no doubt that all the boys would be pining for me in no time. I came up to 3 cute guys and batted my eyelashes at them. This is my first time at a camp like this. I hope it won't be too hard. I'm not very strong. You'll help me, won't you guys? Once again, I didn't get the reaction I was hoping for. They guffawed, and one tall and tough-looking guy called Joseph suddenly leaned in close to my face and smirked. Are you sure you came to the right place, Dollface? This is not a summer pony camp, but a survival school. Crybabies like you don't belong here. My dad doesn't care about that. I turned around and walked away to my room with my head held high. It seemed I was going to have a hard time there after all. I'm only here for 2 weeks, and then I have shopping and spas and Rome to look forward to. Soon we were all given sports uniforms. Our counselor, Mr. Hartman, told my team to line up and started shouting at us. Welcome to our boys' sports camp. I will make real men out of you. His tone infuriated me. Did he fancy himself a sergeant? I couldn't stand it and corrected Mr. Hartman. For your information, there are also girls here. He squinted and stormed up to me. Now who are you, smart guy? Oh, it's our princess. That is a stupid stereotype. Quit calling me Princess Pony and Dollface. What? Watch your tongue. Start doing push-ups now. He was being so loud, all the kids flinched. However, I'd already come too far to back down, so I swallowed my fear and smiled, hoping I looked relaxed. Doing push-ups isn't for girls. You can't make me. Oh, is that right? Then keep standing. Everyone else will be doing push-ups until you say, yes, sir, and do as I say. All the other kids immediately got on the ground and started doing push-ups. I knew they would hate me after that, but I stood my ground. I could be stubborn too. Your comrades are suffering because of you, Brenda. Have you changed your mind yet? I've already said no. You can't make me do anything I don't want to do. After a few minutes, everyone collapsed, exhausted, and Mr. Hartman smiled like a cat that got the cream. That's enough for today. Now teach Brenda a lesson for letting down the team. With those words, he left, and everyone pounced on me. Nancy looked like she wanted to slap the living daylights out of me. You won't get away with this. I backed away, feeling uneasy, but to my surprise, Joseph came to my defense. Leave her alone, Nancy. I don't want her to turn on the waterworks. Oh, how noble of you. I was just putting my money where my mouth was. The counselor was the one who made you do the push-ups. Having said that, I proudly walked back to my room. They could think whatever they wanted. I didn't care. I felt like a winner. That lasted until I got a call from my dad. It seems you didn't take my words seriously, Brenda. I know you've been avoiding exercising. Quit being so bullheaded, or wave goodbye to your car and trip to Rome. He hung up and my heart sank. How did Dad find out about it so quickly? Did he have a spy at the camp? Dang it, it seemed I would have to play by his rules until I found out who ratted me out. The next morning, Mr. Hartman told us to run an obstacle course. Words can't describe how little I wanted to do that, but the counselor asked me if I was going to do as he said, and I had no choice but to say, yes, sir. Now we're talking. Get to it. I was struggling much more than the other kids. While everyone else was finishing the second lap, I wasn't even done with my first. I was covered in mud and breathing heavily, but didn't give up. As Nancy ran past me once more, she sarcastically asked me, having trouble keeping up, sissy? She distracted me and I fell into a puddle. That was it. I didn't even have the strength to get back up anymore. But then, Joseph picked me up and helped me finish the obstacle course. Thank you. Why did you do that? Of course, you failed big time, but at least you gave it your all. That's why I couldn't leave you. I smiled sheepishly. Nancy was furious. Wow, what an achievement. Let's treat her like a queen. When I came back to our room, I saw that all my cosmetics were lying in the trash. Nancy must have thrown them out. I wondered why my roommate hated me so much. And then I realized she could be Dad's spy. He must have paid Nancy so that she'd report him about my every move. I need to test my theory. I got it. I took my lipstick out of the trash can and sneaked into the boys' locker room. Okay, no one's here. Let's get started. I painted a few lockers with my lipstick, and then I put it on and kissed the first t-shirt I could find to leave a mark. Mr. Hartman found out about that prank like I hoped he would. He called Nancy and me to his office and asked us who had done it. There are only 2 girls in this camp, so one of you must have been behind this mess. Brenda, admit it. Did you do it? I shook my head innocently and looked at him with huge eyes. No, sir, I had nothing to do with it. The counselor had steam coming out of his ears. Even though he did not doubt I was guilty, he had no proof. In the end, Mr. Hartman punished both of us. Brenda, Nancy, you will go to the boys' locker room after dinner and clean clean it up. Nancy glared at me with pure hatred and stormed out of the office. A little later, Dad called and scolded me again. You disappointed me, Brenda. Not only are you disobeying the counselor, but you also refuse to admit you're guilty. I'm coming to Parents' Day soon, and if I don't see that you've cleaned up your act... okay, I get it. No car and no room for me. Bye, Dad. See you later. Someone had told on me again. Now I was 100% sure that Nancy was the one who had done it. No one else knew about my prank. That evening, when Nancy and I were cleaning up the boys' locker room, I decided to confront her. I know my dad paid you to spy on me. Do you have glitter for brains? What are you talking about? She said that she had nothing to do with it. She was rude, but sounded sincere enough. I don't get it. Why did you pick on me ever since we met then? What did I ever do to you? Take a wild frickin' guess. This is not the first time I came to this camp. I've always been the only girl here until you showed up. Nancy said she was just jealous because I immediately became the center of attention. Even Joseph suddenly started acting like a knight in shining armor and protecting me. Even though I'm just as good as them at everything they do, they've never noticed me. You're so strong and independent. The boys are probably just afraid of you. We talked a little bit and realized our feud was a bit dumb. Even though we didn't have much in common, we could still become friends. I apologized for my prank with the lipstick and she left. Meanwhile, I was lost in thought. If Nancy wasn't spying on me, then who's doing it? The door opened and 3 boys walked into the locker room, including Joseph. When they saw me, they all started smiling slyly. Well, I should go. However, they surrounded me and did not let me pass, still smiling mysteriously. One of them took out his phone and showed me pictures of me kissing someone's t-shirt. Isn't that you? Yeah, but where did you get these? It turned out someone else had been in the locker room while I was messing around with the lipstick. Some guy had hidden behind a locker and taken pictures of me. So you're pining for Joseph, huh? What makes you say that? Because it was his t-shirt you kissed so tenderly. Oops. I turned red as a lobster and wanted to sink through the floor. The boys kept making fun of me until Joseph finally stopped them. Okay, that's enough. Get out of here. We need to talk. Of course, let's give the sweet couple some space. When we were finally alone, Joseph looked into my eyes and asked if I really had a crush on him. No, let me explain. I told him that my dad had always wanted a son, and I pulled the lipstick stunt to find out who was spying on me. To my surprise, when I finished, he sighed understandingly. I'm in a very similar situation. My mom has always wanted a daughter and for me to have girly hobbies. She did everything she could think of to stop me from coming here. But seriously, you shouldn't have to spend your whole life pretending to be someone you're not. Your father should let you be yourself. You think I should teach him a lesson? Exactly. Parents' Day is just around the corner. Color me intrigued. What do you have in mind? Joseph told me his plan and I loved it. With a bit of help from my new friends, everything was soon ready. You should have seen Dad's face when he arrived at camp on Parents' Day and saw a soldier instead of his cute little princess. Brenda, is that really you? Why do you look so surprised? You wanted me to toughen up. I did what you wanted. No more girly nonsense. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to play soccer with the boys. Dad watched with delight as I kicked the ball around, compared muscles with the boys, and won round after round in arm wrestling. Sending Brenda to this camp was the best decision I'd ever made. Later, he came up to Mr. Hartman and shook his hand. Thank you for fixing my daughter. You don't need to report to me anymore. So that's who Dad's spy was. Our counselor. I should have realized it sooner. Well, it didn't matter anymore. As soon as Dad left, I winked at my new friends and told them that the first part of our plan had been a success. I spent the rest of my time at camp having a ton of fun. I learned a lot of new things and grew close to Joseph and Nancy. I taught my new friend a couple of things, and the boys finally noticed she was a beautiful girl. Nancy taught me how to do push-ups to thank me. I soon returned home and put the second part of our amazing plan into motion. First, I started to drag Dad to sports matches and on fishing trips. I didn't give him a moment's rest. I tried to act like a guy and quit doing all the things he considered girly. For a while, Dad was happy because he finally had the son he dreamed of for so long, but soon he grew tired of it. Come on, Dad, let's see who can drink a can of soda faster. Oh, and let's go to the garage and tune the car next. Honey, why don't you let me lie on the couch and bake an apple pie? We haven't eaten in ages. Don't be a slacker. No more pies, only meat steaks. And by the way, I canceled my trip to Rome. Let's go on an extreme hike instead. After Dad had heard those words, he looked like his soul had left his body. What have I done? My daughter is no longer herself. I'm sorry for trying to change you, Brenda. You should do whatever you want. I miss my little princess so much. So you admit you were wrong? Yes, I really am sorry. I smiled slyly and then took the short wig off my head and fake muscles off my arms. Ta-da! It was all fake. Dad didn't get mad because he realized he was wrong, and I said I would have never canceled my trip to Rome. The next morning, I left home with a suitcase only to see Joseph on the porch. Hi, I wanted to ask how you're doing and also invite you to a basketball game. Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for the help. I'm in a hurry to get to the airport, but you should totally invite my dad to the game. name. You support the same team." I smiled sweetly at Joseph and got into a taxi and spent an unforgettable 2 weeks in Rome. The views were amazing, and I was on cloud 9 as I shopped there. When I got home, I saw Dad and Joseph working on my car and chatting about guy stuff. "Hi guys, are you best friends now?" Dad winked at me and pushed Joseph towards me. "Don't let this one go, sweetie. He's a great guy." "I know, Dad. He's my knight in shining armor." Joseph smiled sheepishly and took my hand. "I want to introduce you to my mom. I'm sure you'll become fast friends too."